Welcome to another fabulous edition of Meet the Tech Titans, which is of course brought to you by Hutch, a great thought leadership podcast series, 8-part podcast series, and we are into the final of the 8-part podcast series, and we have had some fantastic guests right along the series talking about different aspects of the world of technology and their expertise in those very different sort of clusters. But at the end of the day, we've obviously had so many different insights that we've obviously encountered, so many pushbacks that individuals have actually gone through in the world of technology. Today, of course, like I said, it is our final podcast series, a podcast series that has been immensely assisted with the help of Hutch to put together the thought leadership series that we actually have for you. And a big thank you also out to Liquid Spaces, where our podcast series was shot. Every guest, of course, coming into the spaces right here at Liquid. And of course, if you're looking for a co-working environment with a fabulous view, Liquid Spaces is something that you really need to check out. Today, as our final guest on Meet the Tech Titans, I have the CMO of Hutch in with us on the show, Mr. Hamdhy Hassen, and we're going to be talking about lots of stuff in terms of telcos and what telcos can do for the world of digital. Hamdhy, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Shaq, and hello, Sri Lanka.
Thank you so much for obviously being a part of this great thought leadership podcast series. And without the assistance of Hutch, I don't think we would have actually pulled this off.
We are glad to have come on board and participate in this series to make this possible and share valuable knowledge on the digital fronts for the Sri Lankan people to understand better what is really possible, where we are, and what more needs to get done.
So Hamdhy, let's start off with, of course, Hutch's vision behind this particular podcast series before we move into the other nitty-gritties. Why did Hutch decide to actually come on board with this thought leadership podcast series, Meet the Tech Titans?
Yeah, actually, Shaq, you see, when we talk about digital, there are two fronts. One is the application part. But actually, to take any application, for any enterprise to take an application to the world, you need the telcos.
Right.
So the telcos are a pivotal part. Actually, they are the underlying infrastructure who actually disseminate digital into the people's hands or to the end users. We talk about end users and we talk about people's hands, but there are two parts. As a telco, we have the responsibility to connect machines to machines that speak to each other.
Yeah.
And then that in turn translates into information or applications to be rendered into people's hands. So we are the pipe or the line which actually connects all the infrastructure together to bring an experience or an output possible for the people. So if you would say that, why Hutch would want to be here, we see from our global experiences, as you would know, Hutch is part of a global telco chain. We operate telecom infrastructures in 11 countries, mostly in Europe. So we see what really is possible in Europe and what digital has been able to deliver to the people with telcos' help. But we are in this part of the world which is still an emerging economy, developing nation, along with our sister companies in Indonesia and Vietnam as well, that we see that as a telco we have a much bigger, greater role to enrich the lives of people. Digital is a means to uplift the socio-economic state of our public services and our people, which we see in Sri Lanka, like in other emerging markets, is underdeveloped, lack of knowledge by the common masses. So we have a part of our national growth where we find that as a telco service player, we are one of the three players in the market. That someone's got to bring in the thought leadership and educate the Sri Lankan entrepreneurs, the common persons who are on digital today, but not really doing the real digital things that can uplift their life. At the same time, those who are not on digital at all, give them reasons and applications and purposes as to why they should be getting on digital.
Now, obviously, like you said, telcos obviously play a fundamental role driving digital transformation, providing connectivity and infrastructure, and of course the technological advancements that keep coming. And of course we also have to understand that technology moves leaps and bounds every minute. What we have yesterday is sort of obsolete, today, and also telecoms need to sort of be on par with the technological advancements that's around the world. In your opinion, though, what role can telcos actually, play? I mean, telcos like Hutch can sort of play enabling digital transformation and pushing the adaptability of digital to Sri Lanka.
Yeah, so quite rightly said, Shaq. I think as telcos, because we are the connectivity layer that brings digital solutions and makes it possible, is the first basic thing is that we give quality connectivity to enterprises and individuals to access and host digital services. So typically large scale applications have the applications stored in a data center, right, and connecting the data center through the internet into the people's hand via that layer. We connect the data centers to the through multiple layers into the consumer's hands. So first thing is that we provide as telcos quality connectivity solutions that can connect from the host to the end user. Second thing is making internet affordable. Right, and this is should I say one area that in Sri Lanka that we are focused very heavily on, particularly Hutch. We try to find the lowest cost means to make expensive technology affordable. Whether it is the USA or whether it is Sri Lanka, the cost of equipment is same. These are all internationally produced infrastructure by top global corporations. But Sri Lanka can't afford to charge the same price point or subscription fee as one would pay in the US. In the USA, you can, subscription plan might cost anything between $10 to, going up to $100 as a monthly fee, depending on your requirement. In Sri Lanka, the average spend is about $2.5.
Right.
So how do we actually translate an equipment that costs the same whether you sell it in US or UK or in Sri Lanka, an affordable endpoint? So our role is to adapt our cost structures in a manner that we can still give affordable telecommunication services for people to stay connected with digital applications. The other part is connecting the payment systems, because the honest fact, Shaq, is that in Sri Lanka, smartphones have reached to 70% of the mobile device users.
Right.
So we can say, digital penetration is 70%. But the big question is it really digital penetration? Because when we understand what the mobile subscribers are doing, majority of the 70% is social media content consumption. So yes, it is life enriching in some way, it keeps you, entertained in a different way, but is any commerce activity happening over there? Reality is that out of the 70%, under 25% is doing actually an economic transaction.
Wow.
So even though in Sri Lanka we can say digital penetration which is primarily led by smartphones nowadays is at 70%, but there is very small digital economy running on it. So we find that we need to educate the Sri Lankan people on how to use the digital that is available to them and the smartphones that are available to them, the communication technology that is available to them, and the applications available to them into socio-economic costs that can actually drive the digital economy. So around this, what we are doing is, of course, an education series, which is the first of many steps that we need to do, and I really do hope that the audience who are watching this program right from our first episode throughout are picking up valuable things as to how this kind of programs and this kind of education can help transform their lives. But this is one of first many steps. So as a role, because we are interconnecting the banks, we are connecting e-commerce, we are connecting public services,
right.
which we expect will happen at scale, that we might be in a better position to talk about all these diverse aspects and educate the public as a social economic upliftment. There are further things that we are doing, which is identifying the apprehensions as to why people don't adopt digital.
Right.
The reality is that we are still in a fairly conservative society. Parents have apprehension of giving a device into the hands of their young kid because they think about all of the unwanted things that could
negatives.
Yeah, the negatives, right? So what we understood is that we need to then come up with solutions that remove those barriers, right? So we have created application specific products. So work from home only products. So you buy a data plan, you can only access Zoom, you can access Teams and certain education and learning management systems. Besides that, we also understand that the child also has a apprehension, or should I say a disliking when their parents try to over control their digital journeys. So for that we had actually developed a particular application which moderates the content that the child can use by the parent can design. So it's called child friendly internet, where useful internet is given access to, and the parent is able to design what kind of an internet experience they would like to give to the child. Obviously it blocks out all of the ones which are inappropriate. You can design what time the child is able to consume the internet, like it could be 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. example, what specific applications, and they can basically curate the internet experience as to the comfort of the parent. So we believe in creating a complete ecosystem which includes opening up, like I said, the payment gateways to convert social media into commerce activity, and then empowering the whole atmosphere of public services to be accessed. And we will work with multiple institutions. As we speak, we are speaking to multiple system integrators and developers to come up with applications that bring convenience to people's lives, because what we understand is that if digital can solve a day-to-day problem like booking your bus ticket, which happens today online in many other countries,
right.
And understanding the delay of the bus getting to your point, if we can bring applications that can solve these common day-to-day chores, then digital becomes more relevant and practical to the people. So this is what we got to work on with multiple partners, integrators, the government, the banks, to bring complete full-fledged solutions and make digital more meaningful, because honestly today I think it is an underdeveloped area, that if the right applications are there, Pick Me, Uber, these are good examples. If it really solves a problem, it has got a case.
That's true.
Right?
Hamdhy, what you're saying is digital transformation honestly is just more than technology. It's empowering communities.
Correct.
It's empowering individuals out there. And that, I suppose, is going to be the pivotal role in terms of driving the society and the progress of the society. As far as Hutch is concerned, how does Hutch sort of envision its role in a digitally inclusive society in Sri Lanka? What are the roles that Hutch is planning on sort of embarking on to create a digitally inclusive society?
Yeah, so just to borrow some of the things I just mentioned earlier,
right,
is that first thing is make the internet affordable. because pricing is a barrier. If data is overpriced, then people obviously has an apprehension to adopting it because of the cost of data.
Do we not have one of the cheapest rates in the world?
Yes, so we are constantly trying to find ways to make it affordable.
Okay.
Amid rising cost in all other inputs.
Right.
So if you take it, Sri Lanka's electricity bills have gone up, nearly I think 60-70% since where we were 2 years ago.
That's right.
But the mobile rates have not.
Right.
Right. So mobile rates have barely gone up. At least at Hutch, we have kept our prices still. So keeping the prices affordable amidst rising cost is something that we strive to do. The other part is creating awareness of what can be done with the internet. Like I said, I think our internet penetration rate is fairly commendable, 70%. We would love to obviously get there to 100%, but 70% is still a decent number. But like I said, only 25% of that 75% is engaged in economic activity. So we are trying to work with third-party institutions and also internally how to encourage people to do more of their transactional activities through digital.
Right.
Right. In Hutch case, for example, paying bills, doing your recharge top-ups can be done digitally. We have an app. It just takes under 30 seconds for you to top up or pay a bill from our Hutch app. But still people are going about the traditional ways of going into a communication outlet or a bill payment center.
The neighborhood
kade, right? So convenience is at the palm, but changing behavior and habit is something that we are working on. We are making progress, but it is a journey.
Right.
And some of these things needs to be done a bit collaboratively. If you take Sri Lanka, nearly 80% of the Sri Lankan population are banked. You have a bank account, you have a debit card. Almost everybody's got a debit card, which is usually Visa. You can make a payment online. Nearly 2 million people have got a credit card, right? But there is an apprehension here as well that people worry about security. Is my transaction secure? Now, we've seen the Western world, they have gone way above it.
Right.
Right? But still there is a stigma, does it feel safe? So this is where I think, telcos and the banking infrastructure need to make people more comfortable and more aware how to do secure payments, using your cards. Because if you're talking about digital payments now, right, going into e-commerce, is that people need to feel comfortable doing payments through, the banking assets that they have. So while certain things Hutch can do on our own or the telco industry can do on our own, there are certain things that we need to do in partnership or in collaboration, in common voice, in different forums and platforms. So this is something that we've worked on, and I'm just picking up an example of something that happened during the COVID times. Everything, all infrastructure was closed, and should I say retailing infrastructure, banks were pretty much closed. You can't walk up into a bank easily, and the only way to do commerce was through card payment, right? And some of the banks at that time still required people to fill manual forms to subscribe to digital online payments.
Right.
So at that time I had collaborated, Hutch had collaborated with the central bank and got them involved to open, to make the banks less restrictive in signing up for online transactions with their debit card, which was a prerequisite back then. And to get that subscription for online payments, you actually had to walk into a bank,
right,
which is totally opposite of what you needed on the COVID time. So, but the banks were very supportive. I think within period of 7 days to 10 days, almost all of the banks who got on call instantly, opened it up.